Hey everyone, Velma Garnes here, also known as the Velminator, coming at you with crazy hair. Today is day 28 of 365 days of my motivational moment. I want to do a summary of all the meditation stuff that I've been talking about thus far. So this video is going to be anywhere between 8 to 10 minutes, just so you know, so you have an idea. So the first thing I think is so important with meditation, especially if it's very new to you, is that you have to start somewhere. Like, start with wherever you are. There's a saying that goes, start with whatever you have, start with whatever you got, with what you have, wherever you are, something like that. I used to say that all the time, and I just pretty much butchered it, but try to start with wherever you are. I think that's the most important thing. So whatever time you'll give to it, whether it's like 30 seconds or 3 minutes or 5 minutes, usually you can end up taking something out. So that could be anywhere from watching Netflix, watching a commercial for that matter. You could spend 30 seconds to 1 minute just starting off, because I think once you see the benefits of it, you're going to want to try and make it a priority in your schedule. I think that's one of the most things that makes a huge difference, is making it a priority, because a lot of us think that we don't have time. And I know everyone would just keep saying, you know, just add 5 minutes here, 5 minutes, whatever. And it just ends up, you know, taking up a lot more time than what you think. So I think it's more about, hey, Jenna, what's happening? Good morning. I'm going to wave at you. I get off track very easily, so I'm trying to stay on track. Thank you for joining me. I love you. But one of the things I think is like really important is just taking the time to do it. And I think a lot of us think that we don't have the time, and we can end up there's a girl that does it like in a carpool line. I don't think that would work really well for me, because it's the middle of the day, and I'll explain it to you why that's probably not a good time. But it just takes that much longer to get into the meditation if you try and do it in the middle of the day. So let me get started with all of my notes here. One of the things that is really important to understand is when we're thinking something, it has a chemical response. So each thought has a chemical reaction or a chemical response. Whether it's a positive or it's a negative thought, it creates a chemical. And what happens is your body ends up absorbing that chemical. So every time you think something, it is creating this chemical soup. And so your body absorbs that chemical soup. So when you have this whole creation in your body as a soup, your body becomes addicted to that soup that you've been creating for yourself all this time. So what happens is your body then becomes your brain. Because even if you're not thinking those thoughts, your body is craving the chemical soup that you've created from the positive or the negative thoughts. Now, the problem with positivity, because everyone keeps saying, you know, think positive thoughts, think positively, which is a fantastic thing, and it's training the body, but you also have to put the feeling behind it. And most of us are responding to whatever is in our environment. And so I think that's the biggest thing to understand right now, is that every time you attach an emotion to whatever you're thinking, then every time your thought is attached to whatever is in your environment, you keep recreating whatever is in your environment. And I think when we're trying to change things and we keep having those same thoughts that we had before, nothing changes. And so it's difficult to make our environment different or feel differently about something if we keep repeating those same thoughts over and over again. So if you want to change something, you have to start with your thinking first, because you're wearing grooves, not as in wearing them, but you're wearing down a pathway inside your mind, and it's creating something that you don't want to keep re-experiencing. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense. So that's why habits are really difficult to break, because when the first 3 days, as you know, it's very difficult to start something, because you feel like you're white-knuckling your way through it. And it's like it's kind of like your body's taking you along for the ride. So the first 3 days are always the most difficult to break out of any sort of habit, because you're trying to recreate something, and it's like you're a pioneer in your own brain. And I think that's what you have to understand, is that you're a pioneer in your own brain, and habits are just hard to break, because it's just a repetitive process that needs to happen. But once, it's like riding a bicycle, once you start to go down that path, it starts to wear a groove into it, and so it just becomes easier and easier, and you don't have to go back and keep clearing out whatever that dirt or the rocks or whatever it is in the path that was in the way to begin with. So that's one thing. So then I like to explain, this is totally my explanation. I like to explain that meditation is like the person that you are and then the person you're trying to be. So it's like every single time you sit down and meditate, whether it's like 30 seconds or a minute or whatever it is, you're starting to squeeze that path together. So this is the person that you are, this is the person that you're trying to become. So each time you sit down and meditate, it's you trying to bridge that gap and then bring it closer and closer together, so that by the time that you've worn that pathway, you're just creating a bridge to yourself, and it's just easier to get over that bridge, and it is tighter and woven. So in other words, you're not gonna fall through the cracks. See how there's cracks there? So the tighter you weave it together, the easier it is to get to access that newer person that you want to be. So the person that you're trying to be, or you are right now, and the person that you're trying to be. It's like weaving everything together. I hope that makes a little bit of sense. So that's kind of my analogy of it, and that's why I explain meditation to people. Then, wait, I'm like cheating on my notes here. So then what happens is when you're attaching your emotion to whatever that problem is, it's like you turn it into who you are. So every single time you spend time with, the longer you spend time on whatever that emotional reaction is, and you're tying it to that event or that traumatic event, it starts to become an emotional reaction, and then it becomes part of your thinking, and then eventually you're doing it so much that it becomes like a personality trait. It moves into a mood, and then it just moves into like a personality trait, and then it just becomes who you are. And then you think you accept it because you just say to yourself, you know, this is just who I am, like this is what I'm dealing with. But when really, like, you try to pass it off as a personality trait, when really it's you just constantly, you know, re-establishing those feelings, and you're connecting it to whatever that event is, or whatever it is that you're trying to change. You just decide that you're going to be, that's who you are, and that's your personality, and that's just the way it's going to be. Now, here's the thing to understand about brainwaves and actual meditation. So here's my other really quirky way of explaining what meditation is. But this has to do with brainwaves here. So let's just imagine that this paperclip on top is your conscious mind, and then this down here is your subconscious mind. So what happens is you have 4 different brainwaves essentially. You have beta, alpha, theta, and delta. Beta alpha is associated with this first paperclip up here, which is your conscious mind, and then subconscious is down here. So beta and alpha are the two, is the bridge to give into the subconscious mind up here. So you have beta, alpha is connecting the two essentially. It's like that bridge, that gateway to pass you down into subconscious. So think of it that way. And then you have your subconscious mind down here. So the only brain waves that are associated with subconscious mind are the alpha, theta, and delta. So it's like faster, and then it starts to slow down your brain waves until you're in the subconscious mind. So it's just kind of cascade down into the subconscious mind. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. That's why I went through the explanation of the seated position as opposed to like a lying down meditation. Because what ends up happening is you're not used to slowing down the brain waves, and that makes a huge difference. If you could stay, it's almost like trying to stay awake when your brain waves slow down, because the slower the brain waves, the closer you are to sleep. So it's faster, slower, 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 and it just starts to slow everything down. So if you're not used to it, it's just easy to fall asleep in that, because that's just what we're used to doing. And it's almost like trying to tap into the subconscious mind to be able to change whatever it is that we are trying to change about ourselves, that we're willing to give up. It's not like, and I don't think I explained this very well the last time, but it's not like you're trying to go in, you know, like a bull in a china shop and just, you know, make everything different. It's only those things that you are wishing to change. And I'm hoping that I'm getting that point across. So the seated position was kind of a really big deal. I'm not going to go over that again because I think I explained that. But the other hack that I had besides the sitting position, because I think it's in videos 15 and 23, I talk about the hacks. There's 23 is when I talk about the seated positions. If you want to go back through day 23, you can do that. But These are plugs that I put in my ears to actually try and help myself focus. And the thing about these plugs, though, it depends on how well you fit them into your ears. It's almost like I can hear myself blink. So that's how well I can focus and concentrate with earplugs in. Okay. The best times of day, this is the very last thing, the best time of the day to meditate is either early in the morning or late in the afternoon. As I said, because of the brain waves, like when you're slowing them down, it's easier to access the subconscious mind and get something out of it. Or if all you're looking for is relaxation and stress relief, that's okay too. But remember, it's just easier to access the more often that you do it. So you can do it early in the morning or late in the evening. A lot of times if you feel like you're running out of meditation juice, you can sort of try to do it twice a day, which is something that I'm working on right now. So you can start with like early in the morning or and then add another one down at the very end of your day. At the end of your day, you're just really exhausted. And so it's just easier because you're not fighting your body and the chemical soup that you've already created for it. So it's just ready to kind of go into meditation. So that is it. I think that is everything that I wanted to cover. So that's just like a summary of everything that's going on. This is totally backwards on here. Guys, I'm waving at you. Sorry. Hi, Mark. Hi, Jenna. Hi, guys. Thank you for showing up. So this is the book that essentially, this is like, well, I don't want to, it is a Bible for me right now, but it's totally backwards. But Joe Dispenza, even if you go and you Google his YouTube, like he's got a bunch of videos on YouTube. You can just Google his name. It's so very beneficial. A lot of the information I've been getting from him, this is called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, just in case you can't read backwards. But it's just it's how to lose your mind and create a new one. All of his books, I think he's got like 4 or 5 books out right now. And Hay House, he's associated with Hay House. Hay as in horses eat hay. He's associated with Hay House, and just really great beneficial information. And it's not so much about, it's more about scientific side of it. So whether or not you believe in God, I myself am a Christian woman, but he explains everything to you and puts the science behind it, and he's been studying brains for like a really long time. So it really is worth your time to, even if you can just rent it from a library and get some information out of it, it's like amazing information, and I think that everybody can't live without, because our lives, we can make our lives a lot better. Even if you feel like you have a good life right now, it can always it can always get better. It just takes practice in your mind. I think a lot of us, we're given a brain, and it's like a tool that maybe, I know I wasn't using mine effectively, so it's nice to be able to have someone who has studied and done the research behind it, and you can help yourself, and not, you can help yourself, and that's what he advocates. So I'm not going to keep going on and on like and babble. So thank you so much if you're joining me, or even if you're just watching the replay. I really do appreciate you. And I will see you tomorrow. Bye! Make it a good one. Happy Sunday.